Blog Talk Radio.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T Renegade and Justice in for another program, hopefully to share constructive information on racism, white supremacy. Before we get started with today's program, number one, we are broadcasting simultaneously at Blog Talk Radio and the War on the Horizon Radio Network. What you can do for people, if you're listening at Blog Talk Radio, I'm not able to use my normal setup when I'm simulcasting, so it might impact the quality of the broadcast. But what you can do, go to waronthehorizon.com, and when you go to the main page, just look on the right side of the page. You'll see a player for Live 365. You can click that, listen at waronthehorizon.com, and it should be a lot clearer if it's not clear now. But either way, you should just go there and check it out because the audio quality is great, and it's the same broadcast, no different at all. If you're listening live, if you're listening to the archives, don't worry about it. Just hang out and listen at Blog Talk Radio. But if you are listening live, just go check it out at waronthehorizon.com. Go to the main page and then just click the player that is on the right side of the page, Live 365. Click it, and you'll be able to listen to the same broadcast live, and the quality will be great. Second thing, I am trying this out. This is the first time. Anybody that is listening, if you would like to call in, we should have ample lines for people to call in. I'm going to connect, but I got to wait for other people to dial in. But what you can do, if you would like to call either to listen or to ask questions for the broadcast, the number you can dial is 760-569-7676. One more time, I'm going to give it to you slow. 760-569-7676. Okay? Dial that number, and you will need a code. The code that you can enter is 948656. The code again is 948656. Okay? So the number 760-569-7676, and the code is 948656. If you dial that, you can get in, you can listen to the program, you can ask questions, I can put you on the line, and there should be no limit. So if you just want to listen, if you're in transit, you're not at a computer, you can punch that number in and listen live or ask questions, either or, and I'm going to try to see if we can use this regularly. I'm trying it out for the first time today. I just need somebody to call in, and, we'll be all good. So if you need that number again, I'll give it out later in the program. Okie doke, for today's broadcast, Yeah, we'll get right to work because it should be great. Today's program, this person, I believe she can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe she found the cows because she had Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. She had that book, thought it was great, was recommending it to other friends, telling other black people that they should check out this work. And she was searching on the internet, and she found the program. Of course, one of the co-authors, Pam, she's been on this program repeatedly, and I guess she found out about the program, told some other people as well. She listened, and I think she heard the program with the Irritated Genie, one of the times that he was here, and she responded. She mailed the folks at War on the Horizon about things she could do to work against racism, white supremacy. The good folks at War on the Horizon had their suggestions. I had my own suggestions, and one of them was to come on this program and share constructive information. At first, she was not willing, but she changed her mind and decided that she would give it a try and come hang out with us. And there you go. So we'll chat about her blog, her views on racism, white supremacy. Hopefully it will be constructive. We're not even doing names. Just we have a white female, of course, a racist, white supremacist suspect, suspected racist, white supremacist. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Outstanding. Outstanding. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to speak with us.
No problem. Glad so.
For, I guess, reference, how would you like to be referenced for the broadcast? We can do names, or I'm comfortable even sticking with suspected racist white supremacists. It's up to you.
You could just call me Joanna.
Joanna?
Yes.
Okay. Go with Joanna. I guess, one, did I get that accurate in terms of how you found out about the program?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any background information you would like to share with listeners before we get started?
I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to, speaking publicly, so I think I'd be more comfortable answering questions.
We will have questions. Don't worry. Okay. As we begin every program, you are a white woman, already stated, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This program, context of white supremacy, I have unfortunately concluded that we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy. I use those two terms interchangeably. I use the same definition for both terms. That definition is as follows: a global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. Do you believe that such a system exists, and do you believe that definition is accurate?
Absolutely, I believe it exists, yes. And yes, I believe that definition is accurate.
Outstanding.
I actually had an interesting conversation on another blog with someone yesterday who it was a black man who was saying there is no system of white supremacy, and he seemed to be using the word supremacy and superiority interchangeably. Hello? I'm sorry. I thought that was a mistake because I don't think that by saying that there's a global system of white supremacy that you're saying that there's white superiority, but that's what he was trying to tell me he was getting from that.
Very interesting. That is why I consistently point out on this program, words and definitions are very important, essential, I would say, when you really get serious about working against racism, white supremacy, just being clear about terms. Those are two different terms, two different meanings. That's why I begin every program, definition, unless the guest has been with us before and we've already got that taken care of. But
right.
And it also highlights what I've said consistently, The system has done such a good job. You have a lot of non-white people, black people, who are very confused, who don't even think such a system exists. Your team, white people, have done such a good job. Many of us are confused and have no idea what is happening on the planet, and will argue you night and day until they're blue in the face that such a system does not exist. Tragic.
Yeah. I've actually seen that quite frequently.
Me too. Justice, my co-host, she should be with us, and she should have some questions. We're simulcasting, as I said, at Blog Talk Radio and War on the Horizon. I want to give out the number really quick before I go to Justice, and I hope some of the good folks at War on the Horizon will listen and call in. The call-in number is 760-569-7676, and the code again is 948656. That's the code. I'm going to have to dial in. The only problem is I'm going to have to wait a little bit because it plays music until someone calls in. So I'm going to wait until we build up an audience and then call in so we don't have a lot of music and craziness going on. So did that, and again, I really want folks at War on the Horizon who are listening, call in, because they typically do not have white people on their station. Since this is, I suspect, first time a white person has been a guest on the War on the Horizon station, War on the Horizon radio network, standard is very high. So we got to do a good job, call in, and either ask questions or let us know how the program is going. Justice, if you have questions for our guest, your line is open. Please go right ahead.
Why do you want racism, white supremacy here? Why do white people? Yeah, why do white people want racism, white supremacy here?
I think it's out of fear. I think it's out of wanting to be better, but realizing that they're not, and so they develop a superiority complex because they feel inferior.
Are you a racist?
Honestly, I don't know.
Why don't you know?
Because I go back and forth all the time. A year ago, I would have said absolutely not, no, I'm not a racist. But by reading more and educating myself more, I'm starting to see the ways that I do benefit from the global system of white supremacy, and I don't know if I'm at that point now where I can say, oh, absolutely, I'm 100% not a racist, because there are still things that I benefit from and do that possibly are, and I really don't know the answer myself.
What are some ways that you practice racism, white supremacy every day?
Well, just in general, the place where I live. I probably would not be able to live here if I came here as a single black woman to apply for this apartment, but I got the apartment with no problem, no references or anything, because of the fact that I was a white woman.
I'm just laughing. She said she got the apartment with no references. Woo! Sorry. Please continue.
Just other examples. I don't have to worry when I'm walking down the street that someone's going to stop me based on my skin color. I don't have to worry that when I go into for a job interview that they're not going to hire me because of my skin color. So I'm benefiting from it. While I might not be actively practicing it, I'm still benefiting from it. I had the opportunity to go to the best schools, to go to college, to do all of the things that people where I grew up with, white people, just took for granted.
How do white people keep information from non-white people?
I think there's a lot of things that are said behind closed doors. There's a lot of things, like I try not to be with my family too much, But when I am with them, they'll talk about things that they wouldn't talk about when there are other people in the room. When they think, oh, there's only white people around, so I could say whatever I want. So, and they know very well that they wouldn't express the same things if there was a non-white person in the room.
Who do you know that practices racism, white supremacy better than you?
I don't know about better than me, but people who are more vocal about it. I know my whole family. My father married a woman whose family is very vocal about their hatred of non-white people, and it makes me angry because I don't like to hear that. But then I have to examine myself and wonder: am I doing as much as I can? Or am I just as bad as them because I'm not impacting things as much as I possibly can?
So you listen to the cows. What constructive information do you get from this show?
I've actually only listened to, I believe, 2 episodes so far. I heard the one with the irritated genie, and I listened to part of one with Dr. Frances Cress-Welsing. And the one with the irritated genie I found very interesting because I never thought of, he was talking about homosexuality and pedophilia, and I had never thought of those in any way before. I just thought, oh, well, you know, it is what it is. And I never considered it as being a weapon, and that kind of opened my eyes to things.
Why have you not called into this show?
I actually did call into the show. I called in a couple of days ago. I called in and asked the question of, I believe his name was Stephen Thrasher.
Since you are on this show now, what constructive information do you have that you will be sharing with us today?
Obviously I can be around white people and they're going to say things that they're not going to say around non-white people, so I can share some of that information of what I've experienced with that.
That's all for now.
Thank you.
Context of white supremacy. I want to go back to the question about, are you a racist? Excellent question from Justice, very important question, and you said you didn't know. Definitions, I have found, provide a lot of clarity. The definition that I use for a racist white supremacist is a white person who directly and or indirectly, consciously and or unconsciously mistreats a person or persons because he, she, they are not white. By that definition, would you qualify as a racist white supremacist?
Once again, I would have to say I don't know, because if it's unconsciously, I'm not aware of it. So, but there's a very strong possibility that I do it without even being aware of it, because it's just ingrained by the media, by family, by school, by all of that. So unconsciously, yes, I might be.
Okay. Have you ever engaged in sexual intercourse with a black person?
Yes, I have.
Okay. You have read Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. In that book, Mr. Fuller, he says that, I'm just going to read what he has written here from his definitions. Maximum act of racist aggression. Pulling that up. Okay. Maximum racist aggression. This is number 3 that qualifies as maximum racist aggression. An act of sexual intercourse and or sexual play between a white person and a non-white person during any period in which any person is subject to white supremacy any place in the known universe. I assume, since you've read the book, this is not the first time that you have heard this. Is that correct?
That's correct, which on the main page for your show, you had quoted part of my blog that I had written right after I had read that book, which it kind of put me into this mindset of wondering about myself and wondering, like I said a year ago, I would have said, oh, no, absolutely, I'm not racist, but that was one of the major things that made me start thinking and reconsidering and wondering if I'm really, doing something wrong.
He doesn't just say that this is, incorrect. He says this is a maximum act of racist aggression. And in fact, one of the other definitions or terms and definitions that he has to this behavior, an adulterer, the definition that he has in the code book for an adulterer is a white supremacist. And then if you go down a little bit further, it is any white person who engages in sexual intercourse and or sexual play with any non-white person during any period in which any person is directly or indirectly subject to white supremacy any place in the known universe. He's not just saying that this is a little bit incorrect or maybe shouldn't happen. He's saying this is the worst thing a white person can do to a black person under the system of white supremacy. I mean, that's heavyweight. Do you think he's accurate in what he's saying?
I don't know. I think, everybody likes to think, oh, I'm different, I'm special. So I've always thought, oh, well, most white women who are in relationships with black men are racist, but that's not me. I'm different. But that book made me think and say, am I really that different? Am I really that special that I could sit there and say, oh, well, it's okay for me, but not for other people? So it's gotten me to the point where I'm kind of questioning myself and wondering, what do I do myself? Am I really, contributing to the problem even more than anybody else? And I'm sitting there talking against it in other cases, but am I doing the same thing? I don't know if I'm making sense.
I'll let the listeners judge if you are making sense as a suspected white supremacist. The blog, I want to read that portion for any of the folks who are listening and you're not listening at Blog Talk Radio or you were not able to read the description. This is on her blog, and you can just click the link where it says blog, and it'll take you to her blog site. You can read this particular post, and she has a lot of other posts that are about racism. It says, Neely Fuller Jr. basically says that if you are white and you are romantically, sexually involved with a non-white person, you are guilty of being the worst kind of racist. He likens it to an adult being involved with a child because of the power differential. He says that a white person who is romantically connected with a non-white person is contributing to that person's confusion and self-hatred, and that any children produced from that union will be hopelessly lost in terms of self-identity. I want to just go paragraph by paragraph and kind of get your feedback. Just the paragraph that I just read, do you see the logic in what he's saying, particularly when he likens a white person like yourself engaging in sexual intercourse with a black person to pedophilia, an adult engaging in sexual intercourse with a child. Do you see the logic in what he's saying?
I do see it, and I actually, someone who read my blog actually sent me a book that I absolutely did not want to read just because of the title, but after reading it, I started thinking on this even more. It was called Why Black Men Love White Women, and it was basically talking about the historical things, the historical facts, and the racism and all of the psychological trauma that contributes to interracial relationships, and that made me think about it even more and start questioning even more, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Am I a racist?
I'm sorry?
That was a question. Am I a racist? Did that pop into your head? Am I practicing racism, white supremacy in the worst way by engaging in sexual intercourse with a black person? Did that thought pop into your mind?
Absolutely.
Okay. That book is by Rajan Persad, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. He has been on this program as well, just for folks who are listening. He was here back in May, courtesy of 818. Her blog is ebonynewschannel.blogspot.com. But we had a pretty interesting conversation. We talked about that book that you mentioned, Rajan Persad, May 2010. Wow. I hope folks listening in think about that. She did say it was logical, Mr. Fuller, likening this behavior to pedophilia. So did you think, wow, logic, if the logic of this is accurate, did you think, wow, he's likening me to a pedophile? What do you think about that?
I don't know. It kind of, again, it just makes me more contemplative and more thinking about things, and I'm kind of lost. I'm kind of just lost. I don't know what to do, where to go, what I can do to make things better and change things, you know?
Not have sex with black people?
That's true, yes. I guess that would be the only choice, yeah. But then I also can't see myself being with a white person just because I can't see myself being with someone who is actively practicing racism and has no problems with it. And most of the white people I know, they will deny practicing racism. It won't even cross their mind, but then they'll go ahead and say something blatantly racist.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking this is just like you. In my view, having sex with a black person is a blatant maximum act of racism. You said yourself that a year ago you would have done the same thing, said absolutely not, I'm not a racist. And even today you still have not said, yeah, I believe I'm a racist. I'm probably doing things, I'm definitely doing things to mistreat people who are not black. The shoe seems to fit you as well, do you think?
To a degree, yes. I think the difference is that most people, they would just say, oh, well, I'm not, you're wrong, that's it. Whereas I actually am sitting here like, okay, thinking of changing my ways, changing what I'm doing, changing who I am, because I'm realizing that it's wrong, where most people they don't care.
I wanted to touch on this before I read the next paragraph. On your blog, you said that you believe 95% of white people are racist. Is that accurate?
I've said that, yes.
The 5%, who constitutes this 5% of white folks who are not racist?
See, that's the thing. I don't know, because I've said before, 95% of white people are racist. But
are you with us? Can I be heard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. the 5% of white people who are not racist, who are these people? I've never met these folks. Can you tell us more about this 5% of the white people who are not racist?
Well, see, that's the thing. I never realized before that you can be racist and you can be anti-racist at the same time. If that makes sense.
Sorry? That does not make sense to me. That does not compute at all. That's one of those, either you are a racist or you are not. That's something that good old Timothy says, Mr. Tim Wise, who is an admitted racist white supremacist, that I am both racist and anti-racist. That makes absolutely no sense to me. That is like someone saying I am a drug seller and I'm against drugs. It does not compute at all. At all.
Okay. I don't know how else to explain what I mean then. I mean, I would say it's probably, I've said before 95%, I've said 99%. I could say all, but that's kind of difficult for me to say because, like, as I said, I've never even considered these things until more recently. I never considered, like, oh, well, I could be doing harm by being romantically involved with a black man, and that makes me a racist. I never considered that before, and it's not something that overnight I could just say, oh, well, I'm totally wrong, and that's it, and it's something that I struggle with.
Interesting. Are you sexually involved with a black person, like, right now?
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. I want to read the next paragraph from the blog. You also mentioned the book Trojan Horse. One of the co-authors, Pam, she was just with Sister Nefertari on her radio program a couple weeks ago. She's been a guest on the Cows repeatedly, 3 times, and she will be back tomorrow. Justice, Pam, and myself will be breaking down Tyler Perry's latest monstrosity for colored girls. We're actually beating them to the punch to break that down and hopefully give out constructive information. But it'll be same time tomorrow, Blog Talk Radio, Pam, co-author of Trojan Horse. But you write, in Trojan Horse, the anonymous authors say that interracial relationships, particularly between black men and white women, are one of the tools of destruction used against the black collective by the system of white supremacy. They believe that an increase in interracial relationships will destroy black society and lead to the eventual extinction of black people because the child produced by such a union tends to identify more with white people and will marry their children with white people, thus producing offspring that appear to be white. What do you think about the logic of what is presented in Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation?
Again, I believe that it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely on point.
Wow. Just as a victim of white supremacy, if you see the logic in what Mr. Fuller is saying, you see the logic of what's written in Trojan Horse, it would even seem to me, if I was seriously going to consider, what am I doing here? Maybe this is incorrect. Perhaps I should stop, disengage from the behavior, leave that black male alone, and then make a decision about whether or not this is correct. It seems very incorrect to be continuing to engage in sexual intercourse with a black person while contemplating whether or not this is the correct thing to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Justice, if you have some questions to ask Joanna, please feel free. Your line is open.
What do you want to do with the black males you are tragically arranged with?
I want to meet someone. I want to start a family. I want to have love. I want someone to care about me just like anybody else does.
Why do you only date black men?
It's a matter of both physical attraction and just I can't. The white men who I have dealt with in the past have all been. They've all done something that proved to me that they were selfish and racist, and it just bothered me because I had to put aside everything that I feel and think so that it wouldn't make waves with them. I can't be with someone who doesn't share my same political views.
What have you done that was constructive with the black man that you were with?
What have I done that's constructive? I don't have a relationship right now. It's a friendship situation. We talk about issues, but we haven't really done anything constructive. I pass on books and reading materials and things like that, but we haven't really done anything constructive.
Can you talk about a time when you were with a black male and white people were practicing racism against him or other non-white people?
It happens all the time where we go to a movie and people are staring and whispering comments, or we're driving in a car and get pulled over because I have a black man sitting next to me in the car, and his area of the car has been searched by the police while mine's been left alone. Or I've had, someone in my car and been told by the police, oh, you should stay away from this area because a white girl shouldn't be here. You live in a good neighborhood. You should go back there where you belong, and just things like that.
What do you do to help them when that happens?
This has been a long time in the past. This was years ago, so at that point I just basically shut my mouth and didn't say anything, which I regret now, but at that point I didn't. I didn't do anything at that point.
When white people mistreat non-white people, what are some of the things non-white people can say or do to get help?
I don't really know. Because anything that can be said or done, I mean, you could make all the, reports in the world. Like if a police officer harasses a non-white person, they can make all the reports in the world, but it doesn't make a bit difference because it's white people who are controlling what happens with those reports. So I would say, report it, talk about it, do something about it, but there's the white people are in control, so they're going to have the final say anyway about how it gets resolved. So I don't know if it's, even if it's worth it to say something, which I would normally say yes, but it could actually be a lesson in futility because it's not going to do anything because it's the white people who are in control. Just like I was reading something about the Crown Heights riots back in, I think it was 1991, and someone told me, because I mentioned that the the Hasidic people were treated differently and got preferential treatment over the black people in the neighborhood. And someone said, oh, well, that was disproved. That was, they did studies on that. And this was a black man who lived in Crown Heights telling me, oh, they disproved that. That wasn't truth. And I said, well, who was conducting the studies? It wasn't the black people conducting the studies. It was someone who was invested in saying, oh, no, there's no preferential treatment. Everything is fine and good.
If a white person is mistreating a non-white person physically, and if you saw it happening, would you help out that non-white person? If so,
Absolutely.
How would you help?
Absolutely. I'm not a fighter, so I couldn't physically jump in there, but I would definitely say something about it and try to get the white person's attention away from that and get them to stop doing what they're doing.
That will be all for now.
Thank you.
Context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade, Justice, and our guest, Joanna, suspected racist, white supremacist. Folks are calling. I'm going to hit the phone lines on a little bit. The number 760-569-7676, and the code is 948656. Since I botched that again, the code is 948656. You just have to wait because I have to dial in. I want to time it so that I call in and then other people call in at the same time, so we don't have music playing in the background because it'll just distort the quality of the program. This is the final passage that I put in the description from your blog, and it reads, now, as most of you know, I do date black men. There are two main reasons for this choice. First of all, I am not attracted to white men physically, mentally, or emotionally. Secondly, I cannot see myself being in an intimate relationship with a white man, whether sexual or platonic, because the fact is most white people are racists. I'll just read that again for emphasis because most of the non-white people that I know do not think this way. Most white people are racist. I would say all, but, and I do not wish to spend my time in the company of hate-filled people. In fact, I do not really associate with white people in general except for my own family, and even then, that is kept at a bare minimum. All of my male and female friends are people of color. So my reading has led me to a lot of questions. Am I perpetuating the system of white supremacy that I am so against by being intimately involved with a black man? My answer would be unequivocally yes, without a doubt, no hesitation, all day, yes, and in the most devastating way. Do you think the black male or any of the black males that you have been sexually involved with, do you think that they suspect you of being a racist white supremacist?
No. And as a matter of fact, in more recent times, I have actually made it a point to say to people, oh, well, you should watch out for white people because they're racist and this and that. And then, of course, I always thought, oh, well, I'm exceptional, so I'm not included in that. But then even more recently, I've said that it's natural even for you to suspect me because I haven't done anything to prove otherwise.
And they say?
Most of the time they say, oh, well, you think about racism too much. It's never going to end, so you should just stop talking about it. That's really sad. I mean, that is just total hopelessness. Would you agree? Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Do you think you, a white person, being sexually engaged with them is contributing to that really pathetic mind state and their total confusion about racism, white supremacy, and not even being suspicious of you?
Thinking about it more now, I'm starting to think that maybe that's true. Before, I always thought, I don't know if you read, there was another post on my blog about interracial relationships, and basically in it I'm saying that, and this was, I believe it was before I read The Code and Trojan Horse, and I was saying, oh, well, you know, if a white person's in an interracial relationship, they should be a conscious white person and be dedicated to ending racism and this and that. So I always thought, well, you know, it's okay in certain exceptions. And, you know, after reading The Code, I started thinking, well, maybe I'm wrong. But then I tried to wiggle out of it by saying, oh, well, you know, he does say in The Code, use what you feel you could use and then leave out the rest. So I kind of, but it's just an excuse. It's just, oh, well, you know, I don't want to have to stop doing what I'm doing, so I'm just going to, you know, make exceptions for myself. And it is ridiculous and hypocritical. I admit that.
Racist, I would say, racist, white supremacist. It's standard racist, white supremacist behavior, I would say. And I also want to make sure I highlight this. The Code, Mr. Fuller's book, is not intended for white people. He's been very clear about that. That book is not intended for white people. Those suggestions are not intended for white people. So that, I mean, that's just total foolishness to say, well, he does say pick and choose. That's for non-white people, the victims of racism, white supremacy, not you. For you, it is unequivocal. Maximum act of racist aggression. What you are doing is totally incorrect and contributing to the pathetic mind state of a victim. Mr. Fuller, I talked with him personally, and what he has said is that it turns the non-white person's mind to rot. I would say just the responses that the gentlemen that you have spoken to, these black males, would indicate that. And in fact, oh man, this is Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. It's been a while since I've played this. Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., founder of the White Privilege Conference, he alleges to be working against racism, and he, too, married to a white person. This is his comment from, he's been on the show twice. This is when he was on the show the first time in May of 2009.
And it may be, and I'm not unwilling to critically look at this, it may be just a personal desire on my part to find a, you know, kind of soothing lotion so it doesn't feel so painful what it is that you're saying. So I'm not unwilling to look at that.
The soothing lotion of a white woman. And it sounds like some of these black males might be doing the same thing, consciously or unconsciously. Racism is going to be here forever. Nothing you can do about it. Might as well give me a white woman. It sounds exactly like what he said. Do you think what I'm saying makes sense?
Yes, what you're saying makes sense, and I always justify it to myself by, oh, well, I'm not going to date someone who's specifically looking for a white woman. I'm not going to date someone who only dates white women. I'm sorry?
Joanna, are you still with us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear what I said?
I did not.
Okay. I said that I always justify things and said, oh, well, I won't be running into that issue if I date someone who dates all different races of women. They're not specifically looking for a white woman, so that's not what their goal is. But I'm realizing that that's probably a false statement as well.
The logic of what I said, though, does that make sense? That the black male that you were sexually involved with, or I don't know if that's the one you're still involved with, him saying racism is going to be here forever, and he's, you know, got him a white person to be sexually engaged with to get that soothing lotion so it doesn't feel so bad. Does that make sense that he could have the same mindset consciously or unconsciously as expressed by Dr. Moore?
Well, actually, the person who said that to me is actually someone I was in a relationship for quite a long time, and we actually broke up, and one of the reasons we broke up is because he didn't feel comfortable being with me because I was white, and he hasn't dated a white woman since then.
Wow. What was the source of his discomfort?
I believe he was uncomfortable because he felt like other people were looking at him like that he was a term that he uses as a white woman chaser. And he felt ashamed that people were looking at him that way.
I wish there was more. Was that happening? When you all went out, did you get a sense that black people were looking at you all, or looking at him with some animosity? Did you feel that?
I was very close with his family, and that was most of the people who we were around were his family, and his family was very accepting. I mean, I even lived with his brother for a while. But I know, like, he wouldn't take me to his church because he felt like the older people at his church would be looking and they'd be confronting him or confronting his mother because his mother was very active in the church, so he was worried about that. But when I first met the young people that he was friends with, they had a little issue at first, but then once I became friendly with them, then it was like, oh, well, she's okay.
She's not okay. I just want to make sure I'm very clear about that. None of the white people are okay. There should be no passes. She's saying she's fluctuated between 99% of white people and 95% of white people are racist. I'm saying they are all racist. That's what it means to be white, racist, white supremacist, and I would challenge anybody, if you can show me a white person that is not a racist, that would be the find of the millennium. Wow, and the impact, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to set that up correctly. The impact that a non-white person being in a sexual relationship with a white person has on the other white people, that is something that I think gets left out a lot. Dr. Shelley Tuckluck, she was on the program in August, white woman, admitted racist white supremacist. She alleges to do anti-racist work, and in her book she wrote about a romantic, put that in quotes, romantic relationship that she had with a black male. And he was telling her, I can't do this. This will not be correct, and a lot of black females that I'm close with, they'll be really hurt. There already is a shortage of black males, and this just isn't correct. And this white woman wrote in her book that she didn't care about what those black females thought. That was totally irrelevant. She wanted this relationship, and she said that was her being a racist white supremacist right there, having a total disregard for other non-white people who might be negatively impacted by her having sex with a black person. And I think that's something that gets totally left out. The other non-white people, his brothers, friends, who see you in this relationship, and they think, oh, this is a cool white person. She's with, my brother, my friend. She couldn't be a racist if she's with him, so this is a cool white person, which is totally incorrect and is totally eroding black people's ability to replace white supremacy with justice. And I think that's something people don't think about at all. You being with that non-white person, it not only turns his mind to rot, it turns a whole lot of other non-white people's mind to total garbage. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I wanted to say something, though. You were saying about, I said 95% to 99%, and you believe that it's 100% of white people. The reason I don't say that is because if you say 100% of white people to me, then you're saying, well, no matter what you do, you're a racist anyway, and it's just part of you being born white, so you might as well not even try.
My response to that would be, as long as the system of white supremacy exists, non-white people should have a very different frame of mind about the way they think, speak, and act with regards to white people. I don't care what any white person does, how many books they write, how many lectures they give, how many trips to Africa they make, how many donations they make to any non-white person or group of people, as long as the system still exists, that is a white person, and that has major ramifications. It's not that that white person shouldn't try. It's just that the non-white person should in no way at all ever change their perspective about white people in this system. If white people are going to go out and do it, and really, who cares what non-white people think? What impact would that have on your life outside of you being able to have sexual intercourse with non-white people? What impact would that have on your life if all non-white people thought you were a racist?
It wouldn't have direct impact, but it would impact me just because of who I am.
Okay, no direct impact on your life. That's what I mean. It really wouldn't have any direct impact on your life. Who cares? If you're really dedicated to replacing white supremacy with justice, so what? They think I'm a racist. They're going to think I'm a racist, until the system is over with. Whatever. If you're really about ending this system immediately and establishing justice, who cares? Go about whatever work you think will best bring that about immediately. And, it shouldn't really matter what the non-white people think. In fact, you should understand what they're doing does make sense. I totally understand, and that is perfectly logical given these conditions. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that's the point that I'm coming to now, whereas before I was just like, oh, well, I don't want to do this and that because someone might think that I'm a racist. And then I was like, because for example, I was on a blog the other day, and there was a woman who came on there and said something that to me was a racist statement, a white woman. And I attacked her about it. And I had other people on the blog telling me, oh, well, you're racist because you think that we need you to protect us and save us. And I said, well, no, I just feel if I hear something that's wrong, I'm going to say something about it. And a few months ago, I would have said, oh, well, they said I was a racist, so I better just keep my mouth shut. But I don't feel like I need to keep my mouth shut because I felt like what I said was the right thing, and it was right for me to confront this woman. And I don't say and do what I do for any kind of recognition. I do it because it's the right, well, it should be done because it's the right thing, not because, oh, well, I want people to look at me and appreciate what I'm doing. So if someone says, well, you're a racist because of what you did, I'm going to say, well, it was the right thing. So if you want to classify me as a racist because of it, then that's okay.
If you keep that mentality, it should be totally irrelevant what non-white people think. But I do hope non-white people will develop that mentality. White people are racist, period. No exceptions. Doesn't matter what they're doing as long as this system exists. I did want to touch on, because I thought this was really, really important, and I feel like this also kind of gets kicked to the curb when people discuss tragic arrangements between non-white people and white people. This is in that other blog post from May 14th, 2010, where you were commenting on the problems that you have with other white people who are in sexual relationships with black people, not yourself. And you said you had a lot of the things that I do here. A lot of these white women do this for a sense of adventure, or they see it as something exciting, or to rebel against their parents, or the myths of black male sexuality. But the second issue you raised, you said that the second issue that I have with black male, white female couples is that most of the time the white female wants nothing to do with black females, and in fact disrespects black females every chance she gets. She insists that if a black female disagrees with something she says or does, it is because all black females are jealous of her. Very important. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, I've seen it all the time. I've seen essays online about why white females are better for black men than black females are, and just downgrading and putting down black women every chance they get. And another example, I was watching a TV show, and there was a woman there who was dating a black man, and she got into an argument with a black woman. And the first thing she said to the woman is, "Oh, you're just jealous because this is my real hair. And you're just jealous because, just all different things that were, perceived flaws that she saw in black women." And it was just so obvious that she had no respect for black women, but yet she wanted to be with a black man. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is that her boyfriend didn't say anything to go against that. I actually had someone who I met online one time, and he was trying to talk to me, and the first thing he said to me was, this is a black man, and he said to me, "Oh, why are black women so difficult to deal with?" And I turned to him, I said, "Do you really expect me to tell you that you're cute and sit there and agree with what you're saying and celebrate it like oh, it's some kind of compliment to me for you to put down black women?" And I became angry, and I wouldn't speak to him after that. And then all of a sudden he turned around, "Oh, no, I respect all women, this and that." And how many white females did he talk to that said that shit that would turn around and say, "Oh, well, you're so right," and then start putting down black women? Because obviously he must have said it to someone before that thought it was cute, because he wouldn't have used that as his first line towards me.
Wow. I just want to make sure folks heard that clearly. So these white women, racists, make disparaging comments and just blatantly display a total lack of regard for black females, and sometimes in the presence of the black male that they're sexually involved with, and that black male doesn't say anything, doesn't challenge them, acts like they didn't even hear it. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that just seems extraordinarily incorrect. I mean, if that white woman feels that way about black females, I'm certain that black male's mother is no exception. That black male's sisters are no exception. Nieces are no exception. Friends, black female friends are no exception. I mean, it just really, to me, highlights how extraordinarily damaging these relationships are for black people, for non-white people who are in these relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm. Have you seen that with any of the black males that you've been involved with, where they seem to have a lack of regard for black females?
I've only been in one serious relationship with a black man, and that's the one who I said actually left because he didn't feel comfortable being with me because I was white. But more casual relationships, a month or two, I haven't really gotten to that point where I've known them well enough to say that. Well, if they said something directly to me about it, then I wouldn't have been with them. But I haven't gotten to know them well enough to know what their attitudes really were.
Context of white supremacy. Justice, if you have some questions for Joanna, please go right ahead.
I read what you wrote about Mr. Fuller saying that...
Justice, can you speak up a little bit? It's hard to hear you. Just restart your question, but speak up nice and loud for us.
I read what you wrote about Mr. Fuller saying that children with a white parent will be hopelessly lost. Where exactly can I find... He said that.
I don't know if that's exactly what he said or if it was my interpretation of what he said.
What are the best things non-white people can do to work against the system of racism, white supremacy?
See, that I can't answer only because I don't don't know myself what's the best way, but also I don't feel like I should be directing people, telling them how to conduct their own struggle.
Why didn't you say no sex with white people?
I don't know.
What suggestions can you offer to help eliminate racism, white supremacy?
I wish that I knew what would eliminate racism and white supremacy. I'm at the point now where I'm kind of just information gathering and talking about my opinions, but not actually taking action because I don't really know what action should be taken. And the only thing that I could actually think of that would end racism and white supremacy, I can't endorse because it would very negatively impact me.
What would that be?
Just total destruction of white people. There's always going to be racism and white supremacy as long as white people are on this earth. And obviously I can't sit here and say, oh, well, just destroy all the white people because that would include me too. But do I feel like that's the solution? Yeah, I feel like that's the solution. Only I can't say, oh, yeah, go ahead and do it because I'm not self-destructive, so.
If you could, I'm sorry, Joe, if you could repeat that one more time, that would be great.
I think as long as there's white people, there's going to be racism and white supremacy, and the only solution is to get rid of white people, but I can't endorse that only because I have a sense of self-preservation. And there's no, I always thought before, oh, well, there's always exceptions, but there really is no exceptions. So if there's to be an end of racism, white supremacy, then it would have to be no more white people. And I don't know if I'm at the point where I could say, well, you know what, it's okay, because I like to think, oh, well, I would die for a cause, I would die for what's right, for what I believe in, but everybody has a sense of self-preservation. That's just ridiculous for me to say, oh, well, this is my choice. I'm going to choose to commit suicide so that there won't be white people, so there won't be a system of white supremacy.
What about non-white people do not have sex with white people? What do you think about that? As I said, I don't really approve of interracial relationships, although I have been in them myself. But that's like saying, oh, well, it's something that, yes, I know I should stop doing, but it's difficult to just confine myself to saying, well, I'm never going to have another relationship for the rest of my life. I have a compensatory investment request. I hope you can help. I need a laptop and a microphone for the purpose of continuing to provide constructive information about racism and white supremacy for my radio show. That way I won't have to borrow a laptop or a phone to do this radio show.
Okay, I have limited resources myself. I have made a donation to the radio show. It was a small donation. I'm on a fixed income. So I sent this month, and I will send each month a small donation of what I can afford.
That will be all for now.
Thank you.
Context of white supremacy. Wow. I want to go back to the biracial children thing. Actually, I'm going to take this moment because I'm going to go to the phone lines in about 15 minutes. People that are listening, I need you all to help. I need you to call the number like right when I call, because if you don't, it'll be music playing in the background, and I don't want that. So I need you all to do this like quickly if you're listening. The number to dial is 760-569-7676, and the code is 948656. I'm gonna dial now, and once I dial, I'm going to connect everything, and I just need somebody else to dial in so we don't have, a lot of music playing in the background. If I have to wait more than like 45 seconds, I'm going to disconnect because I don't want all that background distortion. So hopefully this will go nicely, and then I can pick up with my next set of questions and get ready to take callers. So give me a hot second, and I'll ask they won't be able to hear. Never mind. I'm going to connect. Just give me 2 seconds, and I will get us connect. So hang tight, and I will connect the lines so that I can take calls in a hot second here. Interesting. Okay, it is not allowing me to call. You all have to give me a second. I'll do it after I go to the phone lines. I'll see if I can clear that up because it's not allowing me to call right now for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. We'll check on that and see if I can get that corrected. My next question was going to you also talked about the impact on biracial children. I've heard Mr. Fuller talk about how so-called biracial children, that is children who are not white, but they have a white parent, how they are confused about racism, white supremacy. I couldn't point Justice or anybody else. I couldn't point them to the exact page in the code book where he talks about this, but I've heard him on different radio programs and lectures. I've heard him talk about this, and he has said that it causes them to be confused. I want to read what you said from your blog and then ask about that as well. What you said on the blog post was, I also cringe when I hear that white women get offended when someone says her child is black, protesting that her child is, in fact, biracial. It seems to me that they think that being biracial is somehow better than being black, and they often insist on raising their children in their own little lily white world, surrounded only by their white family, living in neighborhoods where their child is the only person of color, having their child attend schools with only white children. I guess can you elaborate on that, and if you think that would be another bit of evidence to suggest that these relationships are extremely harmful for non-white people, black people?
I'm sorry, I was just looking up something in the code. I do see. I don't like the term biracial. I always said, if I did have a child with a black man, I would never call my child biracial, because they should be proud of being black. And there's nothing to say. And people have told me, they should be proud of being white too. Why? There's nothing to be proud of that they should sit there and say, yes, I'm proud of being white too. There's nothing to be proud of in whiteness. There's all the destruction in the world has come about by white people, so why celebrate that? Why make it seem like it's like being biracial is somehow better than being black because, I'm white too? And to me, that's just ridiculous.
Have you been in contact with non-white people who have a white parent? And if so, do they seem confused about racism, white supremacy?
Actually, I have, and some of them, yes, they can seem confused, but then there are other people who have a white parent who they seem almost even more active in fighting against racism and white supremacy.
Could you repeat that last part really quick?
I've noticed that I've seen, yes, people who do seem confused and seem to try to discount racism and white supremacy, but yet I've also seen examples of quote-unquote biracial kids who end up being even more active in fighting racism, white supremacy, and I think that happens sometimes because, well, if they grew up in an environment where they were around all white kids and they were victims of racism, more vociferous racism, and they heard it more, then they became more active against it, whereas other people kind of just, I didn't see it, so it didn't exist. I actually had someone tell me, and this wasn't someone who had a white parent, he had two black parents, but he told me, he was 18 years old at the time, and he told me, I've never experienced racism before. And I said, have you ever been, stopped by the police on the street for just walking down the street? Well, yeah. Well, that's racism. Well, no, not really. Nobody's ever stopped me on the street and called me the N-word. That's racism. And I said, there's so much more to racism than name-calling.
And what did he say?
He didn't respond to that, and I don't think that I continued corresponding with him after that.
Why is that?
It was just someone who I just had a casual conversation with at one time. It wasn't something that this was like a good friend or we had any kind of relationship or anything like that.
Okay. This is a sound clip from a non-white person who has a white parent, and he does do work ostensibly against racism, white supremacy. Minka Makalanai, he is a non-white male. He was on the program in July of 2010. He's a professor at Rutgers University in New Jersey. Quick snippet, just get your feedback to see what you think here.
I guess the first piece I would get to, I guess before we even hop to the article, you are a non-white male, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. I guess specifically, are you a black male? What is your class? Black male.
Okay. Black.
Do you have?
Yes, African American.
Okay.
Family's from Tennessee.
Do you have a white parent? Tennessee. Okay. Are both of your parents black?
Well, yeah. Without getting too deep into biography, my father is Irish, so yes.
Your father is he a white person or?
Yeah. I mean, I was being very specific, I guess, in saying that he's Irish, but he is white, yes.
Again, Professor Makalanai, I hope people were able to hear that clearly. I asked him if he was a non-white person. He said yes. I asked him if both of his parents were black. He said yes, my dad is Irish. I said, is your dad a white person? He said yes. Okay, that was in the clip that I hope everyone could hear clearly. Later on in that same program, he said when he was young, he wanted to be like his white father. July 2010, you can go back and hear the whole program. Does that, even right there in the clip that you heard, and him, in my opinion, him not being clear, I mean, it even, in my view, would be bordering on this person not being truthful about their parents, him saying that he had two black parents, and then upon being questioned, my dad is white. Does that seem to evidence, or does it seem to suggest that this person might have some confusion as a result of having a white person, a white parent, most likely is racist?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. And you said you were looking to have offspring with a black person, black male. Is that accurate?
At one point, yes. Again, it's that whole idea. Every individual wants to believe that they're exceptional. And yes, you could sit there and say, oh, well, you're hypocritical. And I can look at myself and say, well, that's hypocritical. But I was always of the mindset that, oh, well, that wouldn't happen with my kid because I'm going to make sure that my child learns to be proud of who he is as a black child, and thinking that somehow I'm this exceptional person, that things are going to be different for me and my child. And I think it's just human nature to think of yourself as being the exception to the rule, and I'm at the point now where that's what I have to get over, thinking to myself that, oh, well, you're the exception, so it's okay. I have to get over that and start realizing, like, no, it's not an exception, and there are certain sacrifices that if I really want to counter racism and white supremacy, there are sacrifices that I have to be willing to make in order to do that.
Context of white supremacy. You had a lot of rhetorical questions at the close of one of your blog posts, ending with, am I part of the problem or am I a part of the solution? I would say unequivocally, you are part of the problem. Sexual intercourse with black people, huge problem. I cannot overstate it. It's on the front page of my show page at Blog Talk Radio, totally incorrect, and should stop immediately. And I've seen this pattern before where, especially with white women, they understand this is incorrect, this is racism, but they still do it. They still engage in sexual intercourse with black people, self-interest. I understand that totally. I have concluded non-white people are going to have to be the ones to stop this behavior. Hopefully we'll get to a point where non-white people understand why this is incorrect, and that option has been taken off the table by the victims of racism who no longer will engage in sexual intercourse with white people. Hopefully this program will be a part of making that happen. People will have a better understanding of why this is incorrect. I'm going to try to get the phone line and everything connected. I'm going to need like 30 seconds to reload my Skype. So if everyone hang tight, I can't really play a commercial because it's simulcast. So somebody would lose out. Somebody would not be hearing what's happening. So I guess what we can do, Justice, do you have some questions? Justice, if you have some questions, you can ask while I'm reloading. And for the folks that were on the horizon, I will reconnect quickly so that you all don't miss. But, Justice, do you have some questions? Can you hear me, Justice? Are you there?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Do you have some questions? If you do, I was going to say you can ask while I reload my Skype and try to get the phone straightened out. Do you have questions that you'd like to ask?
Yes. How do you get other white people to stop practicing racism, white supremacy?
I wish I could figure that out. I can't just wave a magical wand and say, okay, well, this is what you do. This is why you should stop. I can only try to make people more aware and tell them to think to themselves before they do something. Contemplate what they're doing. But I can't just wave a magical wand and say, okay, well, don't be racist anymore. That's it. I can tell them, have respect for other people, treat people like you want to be treated yourself, but I don't know how to actually stop people from practicing racism and white supremacy. I wish I did have the answers.
How do you function around non-white people everywhere you go?
How do I? Well, I don't really go out that many places. But when I'm around my friends, I tend to be a very, political person, a very passionate person, so most of the time I'll talk about my political ideals. I'll talk about the things that I write on my blog. I will do things like that, but I'm by myself most of the time, so when I do get out and interact with people, it's usually on a more deep level than just going out and going to a bar or going to a party. It's usually talking about issues.
That will be all for now.
Thank you.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At CounterRacism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by CounterRacism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Okay. I can be heard? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. My apologies. Some difficulties. Had to actually relocate, but we should be good, and I should be connected with the other line, I think. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that everything works out so that I'm connected all the way around. And all the folks that wanted to call in, I should have picked them up as well. Crossing my fingers. Okay, I'm getting an echo. I'm not sure. The people that are on Skype, okay, the echo is gone. That's great. The people that are on Skype, I think they're muted. And right now I'm just trying to check to see about the folks that call. Okay, we should be great. I think we got everything taken care of. Outstanding. Okay. I got everybody. I can see the folks that called in on the other line. That number, again, is 760-569-7666. and the code is 948656. That's the code. Outstanding. Okay. I'm going to go to the phone lines. I'm going to try out the other line just since it's first up, just to see if it will work. The person who called in, last four digits, 9664. 9664. Let me see if I can pick this person up. And
yes.
9664. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Wow, I can hear you. That is incredible. Did you have a question for our guest?
I have several questions, actually.
Okay.
And I'll try to pare them down and get through as many as I can so other people can ask their questions as well.
Okay.
My first question is, do you feel like getting to have sexual intercourse with black men is some kind of a reward for being aware that racism exists?
No.
Hello?
Yes. No, I don't believe that it's any kind of reward or entitlement or anything like that, no.
Can I be heard?
You can't hear me? Hello? Hello?
I can hear both of you. Can you, the person who called in, last four digits, 9664, can you hear what she's saying?
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. I'm listening through the phone and I couldn't hear, but I unmuted my radio.
Oh, oh man, that's great. You can't hear the guest on the phone line?
I couldn't hear because I had my computer muted, but I'm speaking through the phone.
Right.
So
can the guest, Joanna, could you say something just to see if she can hear you on the phone line? She should be able to hear your voice on the phone as well.
I don't. Can you hear me now?
No, I cannot.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I'm not sure what that is. Let me check somebody else that called in on the phone line. If you call the person who called in, the conference number that I gave, 1376. Can you hear us on the phone? Can you hear the guest and myself on the phone? Person who called in, last four digits, 1376. Can you hear myself and the guest on the phone line? Okay, I'm not hearing them at all. Okay.
I'm still here. You can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
I'm going to go back. The person who called in, 9664. 9664. Did you have a question? Or can you hear both of us? That was the big problem. Can you hear the both of us on the line?
Listening through the computer, I can hear, not through the phone. So. I can hear both of you through the computer, just not through the phone, so there's a delay.
I'm not sure. Give me 1 second to see if I can correct that. 1 second.
I'll just continue to ask the questions that I have. My next question is, who typically initiates Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, let me try this one more time. Again, this is brand new. This is my first time using this, so I'm trying to get all the kinks out. Everybody should be able to hear. The folks who are calling on the phone line, you should be able to hear, as well as the other folks. Let me see. Okay, let's try it again. 9664, can you hear me on the phone? And can you hear the guest? Joanna, can you say something just to see if she can hear you?
Can you hear me?
(9664), could you hear that on the phone? Can you hear me? 9664, can you hear me? 9664, can you hear me on the phone? And can you hear the guest? Joanna, can you say something just to see if she can hear you? I'm not hearing her at all.
I can hear both of you through the computer, not through the phone.
This is not picking up.
There's a delay in my response.
Okay. Okay. Active speak. Maybe I need to add you. It might be that I'm not doing correctly with the line. Okay.
There's a delay in my response.
I wonder if you have to add active speaker.
Unmuted.
Okay.
Can I be heard?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
On the yes. All righty. Thank you for the patience. Testing this out. Thank you, everyone, for the patience. All right. 9664. You can hear us all on the phone line?
Yes, I can now.
Wow.
So I've muted my computer.
Okay. Beautiful. You can go ahead with your questions and rock and roll.
Okay, so she
Muted.
question. I'll just have to listen to the archive in order to get that answer. I won't go through that one again. My next question is, who typically initiates these tragic arrangements between you and the black men with whom you copulate?
I usually meet people online through personal ads, and I wait for someone to respond to me first before I respond to them.
Nine 664. Did you hear that? Her answer. I'm not hearing.
So you initiate the contact.
I'm sorry?
Uh, 9664.
Yes, I did hear.
Oh, okay. Is there a delay on your end?
I think we're experiencing a delay again.
Okay. Took me a while to figure that out. There seems to be a delay.
I did hear her response, and I'll move on to my next question.
Okay.
There's definitely a delay on my end.
Okay. Are you still having to listen through your computer, or can you hear us on the phone, both of us?
I think we're experiencing a delay again.
Okay.
took me a while to figure that out. I did hear her response, and I'll move on to my next question. Okay.
I did hear
an opportunity, would you date non-white men other than black men?
I have.
Are you still having to listen to your?
I have before, yes.
I'm having to listen to my computer again.
Okay, that's interesting.
I believe something you pressed muted it because I heard a voice say muted before.
Unmuted.
There you go.
What about now? 9664, can you hear us on the phone line without the delay?
Yes, now I can hear you on the phone.
Okay.
And it's in real time.
Okay, beautiful. Did you hear her answer to your question?
I heard the answer with regard to the initiation of contact and how she coordinates liaisons online. Is that the question you're referring to? Because I didn't hear an answer to the second question I asked.
I believe she answered the question that you just asked her about non-black, non-white males. She responded to that one. I guess, Joanne, if you want to give that one again now that she can hear you.
I said that I have in the past, yes.
Okay. My next question is, as you stated previously, this is a question. You said something to the effect that the alternative to you ceasing having sexual relations with black men would be to be alone or not have a relationship at all. And I just would like to know, why is that the only alternative to you having sexual relationships with black men, is you being destined to be alone?
Because I'm not.
You have and are willing to date other. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not attracted to white men, so I wouldn't be comfortable. I have dated white men in the past, and it's always been very negative because I have not met someone who has the same viewpoints as I do, and it always ends up being a bad situation. And it's just a matter of attraction also. I'm just not attracted to white men.
Well, I mean, you just indicated that you have dated other non-white men.
Right, I have, but...
So what would preclude you from doing that again?
Because I've run into a lot of the same things. There's a lot of individuals who are not white who they don't see that there's a... I think it's a thing where a lot of... from my experience, there's a lot of other non-white people still have certain prejudices against black people because they feel like, well, I'm one step above. So they practice, discrimination and bigotry towards black people as well. And not everybody, of course. But that's just...
Am I correct in making the following statement that your issue with both white males and other non-white men are their aggression or racist attitudes or prejudice against black males? And the second part of my statement would be, do you then see yourself as some sort of protector or savior to black men?
Well, first of all, not just towards black men, black people in general. And no, I don't see myself
as a savior.
I don't see myself as a savior for anybody. I just have certain viewpoints that I believe is certain things that are wrong, and I just don't feel like it's acceptable from people, whether anybody else is around to be impacted by it or not. It's still not. It's just not correct. It's just unjust.
So you withhold your affection and your sex from white males and other non-white men as punishment for their attitudes towards black people?
It's not a matter of punishment. It's just I can't see myself involved with someone who has those types of attitudes, and it's also just a matter of physical attraction as well.
Okay. I want to come back to that physical attraction.
We have like
have you
on the line.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I'm sorry.
You can if you can hang tight, I'll see if we can come back down. But I want to make sure I snag some other stuff. Thank you for being patient with my my foolishness. That was a lot of that was because I don't know what I'm doing here. So, but I think I should have it figured out now. Person who called in with a blocked number with a hand up. Did you have a question?
Hello?
Blocked.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep.
Hello. Good evening to everyone there, Gus, Justice, and to the guest.
Good evening.
I have a couple questions for you. The first thing I would like to know is what part of the country are you located in?
I'm on Long Island in New York.
Oh, you're on the East Coast?
Yes.
Okay. And what age group are you in?
I'm 36 years old.
Okay, you're mid to late 30s. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the next question that I have for you, you were stating that you do not specifically date white men because you are not attracted to them. But you also state that you specifically are attracted to black men.
Yes.
Okay. Is there something specific about the black men that you are attracted to them? Because you were saying that you would not date a man who specifically wants to date white women, but yet still you were saying for yourself you specifically want to date black men.
The reason that I wouldn't date a man who specifically dates white women is because it usually has nothing to do with whether they find the person attractive or not. It has more to do with I found personally from the men I've observed that say, "Oh, I only date white women." It's not so much about attraction or about love or anything like that. It's more about rejection of black women and rejection of black people in general.
But aren't you doing the same thing when you say you are not specifically attracted to to white men, that you are rejecting them in order to date black men?
I am, but I see it as different, and it could be I'm just a hypocrite, but I see it as different because it's not just it's about it sounds ridiculous. Well, it might sound ridiculous, but it's I feel like there's a reason to reject white people because of all the evils that white people have perpetrated. There's nothing to say, oh, well, I should be proud of being white. There's nothing about that I could say, oh, well, I'm white and I'm proud. No, there's nothing to be loyal to because whiteness is not a good thing. It's not a positive thing.
If you could hang on one moment, female caller that just rang in. I want to try and move through some of the calls. Other person who called in with a blocked number, did you have a question?
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear you.
Hello, this is 818. I'm sorry, can you tell me your name one more time just so I make sure I get it right?
I'm Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
Hi.
I'm 818. I wanted to ask you a question. I have a couple, but I'll start with this one. There are a lot of black females currently who want to date white men and who, no matter what you say, you can't convince them that these white men could at all possibly be racist because they're willing to date black women. What, in your interactions with white men, have you observed as far as what they may think about black men or black women that they wouldn't dare say around these black women? In other words, to make it more simple, as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said, it's helpful to ask, what do white people talk about when there are no other black people around?
Well, some examples. I've gone to family gatherings before, which I'm basically stopping going to. where there was one woman who was a teacher, and she said, "Oh, well, I hope I don't get assigned to the slow class at school because that's where all the black kids get put." And there was another example where she was talking about the names of the children in her son's class, and she said, "Are those black students?" And the woman said, "No, he has no black kids in his class." She says, "Oh, well, that's good." Just things like that, and just
Have you ever observed any white people who are in sexual relationships with black people say negative things about black people when that partner's not around?
I've seen it like online. I really don't know anyone personally who's in a interracial relationship. Mm-hmm. I'm very much to myself. I don't really have a lot of people that I associate with. I have a few close friends that I talk to on a regular basis, so I'm not out there associating with a whole lot of people. So I haven't seen that myself, but I've seen it online. I've seen essays online. I've seen things like that. I've seen things on television and stuff like that.
Hang on one second, 818. I want to make sure I try and pick up folks. I think I have figured out the phone line thing. So if you're listening live at Blog Talk Radio, the live stream is about to end. What you can do is dial this number, 760-569-7676. The code that you're going to have to put in is 94856. You can continue listening once the live stream ends, and you can even ask questions. But you can do that. I can pick you up, no problem. But the live stream is going to end in like 6 minutes. So if you're listening at Blog Talk Radio, you can just go to waronthehorizon.com and listen live. And they have excellent audio quality. So you can go to waronthehorizon.com, click the Live 365 player, and you should be able to continue listening, no problem. Person who called in, this is another block number. Other person who called in with a block number. Did you have a question?
Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes. Interesting show. Joanna, thanks for calling in. I was just thinking, have you ever been around or associated with a black female?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I never started dating black men until I was 20 years old, and from when I was about 12 or 13, most of my friends were black females.
Okay. I'm a black male, and I just feel like there's a big contrast between white females and black females. And I just was wondering, just like you're not attracted to white men, don't you think it's kind of curious that a black man would be attracted to a white female? I mean, when he has black females, I mean, there's no comparison. So wouldn't that seem kind of strange to you, that a black man would be attracted to you in some kind of way?
I always just thought, it's just my wonderful personality and just that I'm just such a great person, but I'm starting to realize that there's more behind it than that.
And, probably, because, like I said, it's no comparison. And how do you like your black males? Could you give us a description of what you attack?
I don't have a specific description.
Oh, the black males that you've been involved with, they all look pretty similar, or they were all different?
They're all different.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miro, did you have any questions for our guest today, sir? Your line is open, Mr. Miro.
Greetings, Gus and Justice. Thank you for coming on the show, Joanna. I have several questions, but I'll boil it down to one for now. And if Gus has time, he can get back to me. Plus, I'm not in the most quiet area. Can you tell me, ma'am, if there's a misconception that white people know that black people have about either America or white people or just something in general where there's a gross misunderstanding that black people have, and pretty much all white people know that we have this misconception?
I don't really know.
You don't know if there's anything that maybe black people are confused about but don't realize they're confused about it, and all white people know it?
I think that there's certain things that I feel that people might be confused about, but I don't know if all white people know it, because I think maybe they do, but they just choose to pretend that they don't. You know, I was talking on my blog today about how every time there's a racist incident that occurs, white people act like they're shocked, like this happened, because after all, they don't know any racist people. But there's so many examples of racism. I mean, I remember growing up, my uncle used to have a KKK keychain on his door, but it never crossed my mind that my uncle was a racist until I started, you know, paying more careful attention and realizing, like, yeah, he is. So I think that there's a lot of people.
Joanna, are you still with us?
Oh, you haven't heard what I said? Hello?
Oh, okay. We can hear you. Mr. Nero, are you there, or did you mute your line?
Yeah, I muted my line because it's a little loud where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's see, I checked those. The Dennis Bowman, last four digits 5917. 5917. Okay, let me see if this.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you. You can hear us both on the phone?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right.
I can hear you.
Okay. Do you have a question, sir?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm calling from France. I'm a black man. I'm a black man. I was born in Cameroon, and my parents are from Cameroon and Ghana. And I'm really happy about this show, and I want to ask to your host, do you really think that can you rule this sexual attraction to black men in the United States to the very deep history of slavery and domination? Is there something related to that, still related to that? Because it seems to me that many people are confused there, and I still wonder if is it just sex? Is it about love? Is it about? Well, it's very strange to me, and many people are confused.
I wanted to first make sure I announced the people that called in at Blog Talk Radio. My switchboard went down, but I did get half of you. So half of you, your line is open and you can talk. I think I did miss like one or two people. For those of you on Blog Talk Radio that called in, if I could request if you all could just hit mute for the time being so we don't have background noise, because some of your line is open. Mr. Bowman, thank you for calling in. Wow, first caller from France. I'm sorry?
Sorry?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm calling from France, and I'm Brother Gus. I was born in Africa. I'm a Cameroonian from Cameroon. And my parents are, my father is from Cameroon, and my mother is from Ghana. And I want to say hello to all my brothers and sisters in the United States. I'm living in France, and I'm so confused about this relation that you have there with the white people. I'm 36 years old man. I'm a computer scientist. I've been married to an Asian girl, and the psyche. Sorry, I'm not that fluent in English, but the psyche you have behind all this relation with black and white relation, not only in the United States, because I think we are all impacted by that. I think it's not that far. What you're experiencing there is not that far here. Here too, I think there is a kind of domination in this white woman, black man, or a white man, and non-white female people. I can see that here. It is very strange. I do really think that I would not be able in the future. I would not be able to date a white woman, because it's to me. I do think that these people are really feeling genetical annihilation. I do think that Mrs. Wessing was not far from the truth about that. But in the same time, I don't know why some people want to get along with us, maybe sexually, maybe through wedding or marriage, without. I mean, it's just like they forgot all the thing about the whole system around us. And this system is really bad. It's not. Some people want to be comfortable with somebody else, but they don't pay attention to the way the whole system is functioning. It's just like you want to make a big jump in the. I don't know how to say that in English. A big wall, something which is it's the unknown, and when I'm listening to your guest today, she seems confused too. I mean, she besides the physical attraction, or maybe the political or social. Maybe she's from the left and all that, and all those things. Besides all that, I really don't see why we're all human beings, but I really don't see why she wants to be with black people. It's very hard to be with black people. It's not easy at all. I mean, if you want to suffer, if you want to, it's hard, because we have so many things to work out. We have so many things so many obstacles, so many even the healing process, even to understand where we are, even to for example, to link Africa to the people out there in the South America, in the Caribbean, and even all the people all over the world. I mean, from the people in the island, in the I don't like to say that in English, Oceania, Caledonia, and all that. We are so far away. We need to link up, and all that to say that we need to recover ourselves first. I think we get lost when we are in that kind of relation, I think, with white people.
I totally agree. I could not agree more. That is, I hope what has come across strongly in this program is that it is very confusing for black people who are in sexual relationships with white people. Your initial question about the link to slavery, I would say white supremacy in general. Slavery is formal slavery in the States is just the older form of racism, white supremacy. It is definitely connected. I think the previous caller, the male who asked Joanna why would a black male be attracted to her as a white woman, and she said that she's starting to see that some of that is because of racism, white supremacy. In my view, that is the dominant factor influencing that attraction. It's the soothing lotion from the sound clip that I played before. A lot of black people, they have been mistreated because they're white. They want to do anything that they possibly can to get closer to white people, get acceptance from white people, get love, validation from white people. They do not want to accept the fact that white people are going to practice racism forever, and that is going to have to be a source of conflict and confrontation to stop this. Not let's get in the bedroom, but let's really strategize and let's black people with each other. Let's strategize about how we are going to win the war of racism, white supremacy. Joanna, did you want to respond to the caller from France to what he shared?
Muted.
I have to think about that because there are certain things that I
don't know if I've lost the line because there's no sound.
We can hear you, sir.
It was muted again. I heard the voice say muted again.
I cannot hear anything now.
Unmuted.
Well, okay. I think I've lost the line.
We're here. We can hear you. Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joanna. You were saying.
I'm trying to catch my. What was the question again? I'm trying to catch my train of thought here.
Well, I guess the initial question, he was talking about the relationship between that attraction and slavery, formal slavery in this area of the world, and then he had his own thoughts about those relationships and him saying that he didn't understand why a white person would want to be with a black person because we have so much to deal with because of racism, and he couldn't see himself being with a white person. He seemed to have more statements, but his initial question was about the relationship between these relationships and slavery. If you wanted to respond to that question or any of his comments.
Well, his comments about why would a white person want to be involved with a black person, there are certain things in my life, like I don't want to get into too much detail about them, but there are just certain things in my life that growing up that I went through, and the people who befriended me were black females, and so that's who I became closest to and who I was influenced most by. And then when I went away to college, it was the same thing, and I just always just felt more comfortable because of certain situations.
Very interesting. I also want to check the people who hit on my Skype line. Vickers 3 from Reckless 2.0. Did you have a question? We're echoing. You get turn computer vibe. Thank you. Outstanding. Vickers, go right ahead.
Oh, yes. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear.
Oh, yes. I just had two quick questions to your guest. The first one is, what nationality or quote-unquote ethnicity of white are you?
I'm Italian.
Okay. And secondly, I would want to just ask, I guess a lot of callers asked it but never really got specific about it. What physical characteristic of black males are you attracted to? Because you said that, it's a physical attraction, yet they all look differently. So what is it that's, physically attractive about black males, physically?
There's no specific physical types that I'm attracted to, so I can't really say it's any specific physical characteristics. It's more when I see a white man, no matter how handsome he might be, I look at him almost as if that's like my brother or something like that. and that could be influenced by the things that I experienced in my life.
Now there are non-white people who look like white people, but are still classified as non-white, but classified as black even. So what is it physically? How do you know? And is it the skin color that you're attracted to that you know?
I've always been attracted to darker skinned men, yes, not necessarily a certain skin tone, but just I know when I was in college it started out as an attraction to Indian men from India.
Vickers, we're echoing really hard. I couldn't really make out the answer. Joanna, can you give us your answer again, please? Thank you.
He asked if it was the skin color that I was attracted to. There's no, like, one specific skin tone. I do prefer darker-skinned men. When I was in college, it was men from India or Pakistan, and then I started becoming more attracted to black men. So that's part of it, yes.
Okay. And I guess the last question or I guess comment was that you said you didn't date white men because you saw and felt that they were racist and selfish and everything. And I'm just going to have to ask you, in terms of white women, what makes them different and what makes you different from white men? And are white women just as racist or consistently as racist or actively as racist as white men?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that I had written before about how I don't really believe in interracial relationships as much as it makes me seem like a hypocrite, because I always looked at myself as, well, I'm dedicated to fighting against racism, whereas most women who date black men are like, oh, well, I'm colorblind. Love is colorblind, and that's denying that racism exists, basically. So I'm kind of like at a point where there's almost an existential crisis, like, okay, well, am I really different? You know, I like to sit there and think, oh, yeah, I'm special and different. Everybody likes to think that they're special and different, but am I really? So it's kind of like I start questioning that, you know?
Okay, that's it.
Reckless 2.0 host Vickers right here at Blog Talk Radio. They also talk pretty much exclusively about racism, white supremacy. You can check their show out. It's explicit, though, which is probably a good thing. But their last program, Historical Revisionism and the Bleaching of Reality, that was on October 13th, Reckless 2.0, Blog Talk Radio. Non-Mighty Wick, did you have any questions, Non-Mighty Wick? Or you might just be listening. If you're just listening, that's fine. But
can I be heard?
Oh, yes, sir. We got you loud and clear.
Oh, thank you. You said your name is Joanna, right?
Yes,
Joanna?
yes.
Oh, do you have a job?
Not currently, no.
Okay. When you did, I was wondering, were there any black females there?
Typically, I've worked mostly with black females, yes.
When were there other white females there too then?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering, when the other white women were talking in the workplace, what were some of the things that they would say about the black females?
See, I haven't worked in quite a while because I've been disabled, but when I did work, I really did not associate with other white females. I kind of stayed away. The only white females that I really associate with are my sisters. And I've just always been that way.
I mean, with just like anything. You don't have to name a whole bunch of things, just like one or two.
Well, as for work, I can't really talk, but I could say from my own personal life, like my sister, my older sister, she used to go to college, and she used to say that, black females are so jealous of me, this and that, but yet she would have an attitude when she was around black females. And one of her things was thinking that every black man wanted her. He would say hello to her and say, she would say, he wants me. He's flirting with me. And she kind of portrayed that attitude towards black females that, they're all jealous because their men want me, when it was just basically her imagination.
So on the job, nothing. I guess I was wondering, did you get the sense that the white women, did they see these black females on the job as competition, or,
I can't really say because it's been a long time since I was actually working, and when I did work, I really associated with the black females on my job, not the white females. And the thing is that when you're on a job and they see that you're associating with mostly the black females, the white females are not going to turn around and say something in front of you that they believe is going to get back to the black females. So if they were saying anything, it wasn't around me because they knew that if they said something around me, then they would be found out.
Okay. All right.
Because it's like the whole thing in life is, I've noticed, like if I'm around white people who don't know who my friends are and don't know who I associate with, then they'll feel free to say whatever they want because they think that I believe the same way they do. But as soon as they realize who I spend my time with and who I choose to be friends with, all of a sudden they're quiet and try to act like, they've never said a racist thing in their life because they're afraid that either I'm going to confront them about that or I'm going to talk to someone else who will confront them about it.
Groovy. Thank you, Non-Mighty Wick. Remember, 4404, did you have any questions? 4404, your line is open. Did you have any questions for our guests?
Just listening, thanks.
All good, all good. I wanted to, because people emailed questions. I've never had this many calls. It's crazy. There were people who emailed a question in. This is from the good folks at War on the Horizon. The question is, we would like to know in plain and direct English what whites talk about related to black people in the absence of black people. In particular, what are whites talking about doing to black people currently and or in the near future? Could you please be specific? And she wants to know, number one, what do white people say when there are no black people around about interracial dating and or marriage with black people?
I'm trying to think back because for the most part, people know that I've dated interracially, so they don't really say, wait a second. My father actually came up to me one day, and now all through my life, he never said he had a problem with anything. When I was dating the man I was dating for 4 years, he said that he was a great guy. He loved him like he was his son. And then all of a sudden one day, like about a year or two ago, my father came to me and said, well, I don't think you should have a child with a black man because they won't fit in anywhere. Everybody's going to reject them. And his wife, her niece had a baby with a black man. And the grandmother was so opposed to this that she wouldn't come to the baby shower, she wouldn't come to the christening or anything like that, which to me, that is actually not as bad as my father's wife, who was throwing the baby shower, saying that she couldn't have black or brown teddy bears at the shower because people might be offended. And that to me just struck me as so ridiculous. That she's worried about the color of teddy bears at the baby shower. And all she would ever say over and over again is, I love my niece's boyfriend. I love him. He's a great guy. And then 5 minutes later, she turned around to me and said, well, be careful if you're with a black man, because he'll get you pregnant and then turn around and get another woman pregnant and not take any care of any of his kids, but yet says that she's not racist and she's not prejudiced.
Wow. I don't know what this means, but I don't know what it says about you, Joanna, or maybe it's because the cows was off, or maybe I should take more vacation. Maybe that's what it means. We obliterated our live listener count. Like it got destroyed today. I mean, whoa, I am stunned. Ashra and Mary Rockwavy are no longer the top live listener program at the cows. It is now Joanna, suspected white supremacist by far. Maybe I should take more vacation. That's what it means. I should take more 1 week exit, and then people will miss the program and be really excited to tune in. The next question was, what do white people, in plain and direct English, what do they talk about related to black people when in the absence of black people, specifically with regards to homosexuality among black people?
Homosexuality. It's interesting because I used to be friends with a lot of homosexual men. They were homosexual white men, and one man in particular, every time I would meet someone, he was convinced that he was going to recruit that person to play for his team. And for some reason, I always was, it sounds really strange, but I was always okay with homosexuality in white men, but it just didn't seem natural in black men.
Wow.
And I'm not sure why I thought that way. I just always felt that way.
Wow. Wow. Very interesting.
I know when I see...
Thank you, Mr. Nero. I'm sorry, Joanna, go ahead.
It's like when I used to hang out at the gay bars with my gay friends, which I don't anymore, but when I did, it was always it was perfectly natural for me to see white men dancing with other white men. But then when I would see a black man, it would seem so out of place and so strange to me. Like it just wasn't natural, you know?
I know. As Mr. Nero said, I agree wholeheartedly. And I hope folks at War on the Horizon, and they're super supportive. I just, this is why I have white people on the program. Same question this time with regards to adopting black children. What do white people say in plain and direct English when in the absence of black people about adopting black children?
I don't think I've ever discussed that with a white person before.
You haven't heard any white people talking about that around you?
I'm trying to think. I don't believe I have, no.
Okay.
I have my own personal viewpoints on it, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone express anything about it.
What about adopting non-white children, period?
It always seems like when a white person adopts a non-white baby, it's like a new toy. And it's like every baby, yes, it's looked at like, oh, this new beautiful toy and everything, but I've noticed it even more so with non-white children where it's, oh, they're so extra cute and so extra adorable and so extra excited about it. And I don't know what that's about, if it's like trying to show, oh, look at how supportive we are, or if it's looked at almost as acquiring a pet instead of a child, instead of a family member.
The latter, I suspect. This one is, what do white people talk about in the absence of black people with regards to black male incarceration?
Most white people just think, oh, well, you know, black men are just criminals, so they deserve to be in jail. And that's something that I've spoken with people on many occasions, because I try to point out the truth of the matter, that enforcement comes down disproportionately on non-white people. And like, for example, they were saying in the new Jim Crow that there's more chance of a white man being a drug dealer than a black man, but yet you don't see them raiding the suburbs to arrest drug dealers. You see them going into the inner cities and arresting black and Hispanic men. And I have pen pals who are in prison, and I even went to the website for other people who have pen pals who are in prison. And one woman had said that she couldn't understand because she wrote to a black man and he was very rude to her in the letter. And why was he so angry? So I said to her, well, because of the history that's been going on and still going on to this day of so much racism and oppression, you know, there's a reason for his anger. And everybody turned around, and for 100 messages were telling me that I was a racist against my own kind, and, you know, the white man didn't put him in prison. He went to prison because he's a criminal, this and that. But yet these are people who are married to or engaged to men who are incarcerated. And when they were calling this man racist, and I said, no, that's not racism. And they basically swore up and down that it was, and that I was so wrong and so foul, and that she should report this man to the prison authorities. And the same woman who said, oh, you should report him to the prison authorities, was talking in another post about how the prisoner that she writes to was a white supremacist, and she was okay with that. She had no problem with that.
Context of white supremacy. The last one, this is from War on the Horizon. What do white people talk about in plain English in the absence of black people with regards to killing black people?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone speak on that directly, although, as I said, my uncle used to have a KKK keychain on his door, so I don't think that he would be opposed to it.
I feel like I forgot one. Did I ask you about colonizing Africa? Did I ask that?
No.
Oh, I forgot one. Sorry. What do white people talk about in plain English in the absence of black people with regards to colonizing Africa and moving there to take it over?
I've never heard that before. The only thing I've heard regarding Africa is people talking about missionaries and what great work missionaries do. And I've tried to explain that missionaries force people to change their culture and adapt to Western ideals. And they said, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. Missionaries are doing great work. And I said, well, they're feeding people and this and that. But I said that's coming with a price tag, because when they offer someone food, they're saying, oh, but you have to come to our church and worship at our church and become a Christian in order to do that. And I was told, oh, well, what's the big deal? That's just a small price to pay.
Wow. Are you Christian?
I'm sorry?
Are you Christian?
No.
Okay. I wanted to double check, since this person had put up with my incompetence trying to work out the phone lines. 9664. Did you have a question? Now that I think the phones are synced, you should be able to hear everything real time on the phone line. Did you have any other questions you wanted to ask? 9664.
Yes, I had a couple more questions. with regard to what the guest just said about her homosexual friends, did her homosexual friends ever express any desire to adopt non-white children or to somehow gain access or be granted access to non-white children for any reason?
The friends that I had, this is when I was a lot younger, so they weren't at the stage in life that they were thinking about families or anything like that. So, no, I didn't experience that with anyone that I knew.
Okay. Also, previously you stated that you agreed with the suggestion that the only solution to ending white supremacy is to eliminate all whites from the face of the earth, but that you could not endorse this method because you have a sense of self-preservation. And you said, I quote, I'm not self-destructive. However, you stated in your blog that you look upon miscegenation as unhealthy or dangerous. And if you do look upon miscegenation as unhealthy or dangerous, why would you willingly participate in this misbehavior if you have a good sense of self-preservation?
I'm kind of confused by the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, you stated that you agree with the solution to ending racism, white supremacy, is to eliminate whites off the face of the earth, but that you couldn't endorse that method because you have a sense of self-preservation. You said you were not self-destructive. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then on your blog, you said you look upon miscegenation in interracial relationships as unhealthy or dangerous. And I said if you have that view that interracial relationships are unhealthy or dangerous, why would you willingly participate in this misbehavior if you have a good sense of self-preservation and you're not, quote, self-destructive?
Well, what I wrote about in my blog is that I was questioning that a lot of interracial relationships I didn't approve of because I thought that it was unhealthy and dangerous. But I always looked at myself, as most people do, I looked at myself as an exception to the rule. So, it's okay for me because I know how I really feel and I know how I really am, and so I'm okay. I'm doing okay. But that's not really speaking to what's going on with the other person, And after reading the books that I read, then I started, and learning more and observing more, then I started questioning whether I'm just as bad as the people who I wrote about being in interracial relationships for the wrong reasons. Because it doesn't really matter what the reason is that I'm in it, I'm still in it. So whether I'm doing it for the wrong reasons or whatever the right reason is, but it still can have just as negative an impact, which is why I started, reconsidering,
Okay, so you would agree that that's a contradictory statement would be to, you being involved in something as you see unhealthy or dangerous, but to say that you're not self-destructive, that appears to me to be a contradiction. My last question for you is, throughout your life, throughout your dating life, have you previously been rejected by males of your own race?
I really don't want to get into that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Non-Mighty Wick, did you have a question? Non-Mighty Wick, did you have a question? Your mic is...
No, sir. No.
Oh, okay. I need some time to get myself, so I guess before our guest gets out of here, the folks that are on my Skype line, anybody that called in through Blog Talk Radio, or if you called in on the conference line, your mic is open. If you have a question ask now or, be cool. Everybody that called in, your line should be open. If you have a question before our guest gets out of here, ask now.
I'm sorry,
Oh, no problem. Sorry.
I'm sorry, can I just go back to the last caller's question for a second?
Sure.
I think part of it, what she was saying about not being self-destructive but participating in interracial relationships, thinking back in past years, not now, but thinking back in past years, I used to think, well, if I have a child, my child's going to be black, and I'm going to make sure my child doesn't date a white person. And I thought that was like, oh, well, I could erase and try to eliminate whiteness by making sure that my children were not white and making sure that they only engaged with other non-white people and that there wouldn't be a continuation of whiteness, which is probably a stupid way of thinking, but that's where my mind was at the time.
Well, the first law of intelligence is self-preservation, and if you try to eliminate your whiteness, which is essentially who you are, then that's counter. That's counter to that.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
Can I be heard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know at what point you began reading, counter-racist material or things like that, or Trojan Horse or Mr. Fuller's book. But before you became more aware of racism, white supremacy, as far as in the counter-racist context, do you feel like you had a sense of self-loathing at all, or what I hear a lot of white people call white guilt? That may have manifested in you feeling like you wanted to have a child that would not be white?
I think that was part of it, yes.
And do you feel that came from your experiences with white people, with with non-white people, white people, both?
Both.
So personally, how is your self-esteem? How do you feel about yourself personally?
I don't know how to answer that question.
I mean, being that you're white and like I know some black females may have low self-esteem and feel like being black is not the standard, it's not good, it's not beautiful enough. And some black men, I suppose, too, but I've seen it more in black females where they want to have a so-called mixed child because they feel the child will be prettier, that they'll have prettier skin, prettier features because it's closer to white. It, may erase some of the typical black features. And I see a lot of those women that have poor self-esteem or image, you know what I mean, where they don't value themselves because they feel that to have a child as something else would be better. So that's why I'm asking you, when you were feeling that way, do you think that was a reflection of you having low self-esteem for some reason or not liking your being white, the color of your skin, the group you belong to, whatever?
I think it's more not liking the group that I belong to than about myself specifically.
I had a quick question that is relevant. To my understanding, you had some correspondence with one of the co-authors of Trojan Horse, Pam. As I know Pam, she's going to be on the program tomorrow, and this is relative. She said that in that correspondence you indicated that you are overweight. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be relevant to this line of question. I think it's relevant to the conversation in general.
I think it's relevant to a degree, but I didn't want to get into it only because a lot of people look at it and would say, oh, well, the only reason you care is because you're fat, whereas I can't say, oh, if I had, grown up skinny that I would have the same attitude as I do now, but to me, it's like, does it matter why I develop the feelings that I develop as long as I'm trying to work towards the right thing? You understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I also look at it as That is another way racism, white supremacy works. Someone who might be overweight might subtract points in terms of other white people, other white males being sexually interested. I can still exploit the fact that I am white in a system of white supremacy by having non-white people find me attractive, a major component of that being just because I'm a white person. I do think that's true. I think it's very logical, and I think it's very relevant to the discussion in general and to the questions that 818 was asking. But I could be incorrect. Last question, because I do need a moment to set up. Last question. You better holler quick if you have a question. Anybody?
Mrs. Jonah?
Yes?
Do you find black people romantic? Do they fit in this kind of standard? Do you find them romantic enough?
I think that depends on an individual.
Are they just kind? Are they just black men submissive? Are they with you? Are they just kind? Are they submissive? Are they romantic? Are they strong?
I'm not attracted to men who are submissive. I'm attracted to strong men. So submissive, no. Romantic, I've been with people who are romantic. I've been with people who were not romantic. It's an individual thing.
Okay, just a last question. Do you generally think that black males are submissive, strong character type with you?
The relationships that I've been in, I always gravitate towards men who are more, who are stronger, who are more dominant than submissive, because that's just who I am. I'm just more of a submissive person. So I always gravitate towards men who are who I perceive as being stronger.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really interesting broadcast. I hope people, I guess since we smashed our record for live listeners at Blog Talk Radio and have a significant chunk of folks listening at War on the Horizon as well, I guess people were able to tolerate me trying to figure out the tech problems that we had. I hope that was tolerable. The last thing, I did read some of your other blog posts, and you had a comment talking about a previous victim of white supremacy, a black male that you were sexually engaged with, and he used the N-word, and you wrote a blog post about that. Can you kind of share your thoughts on that, some of what you expressed in that post? I think that would be a great note to end on.
Yeah, he used to use that word all. I'm still in contact with him. He's still a friend of mine. He uses the word all the time, and he knows that it bothers me, so he does it even more on purpose. He'll get on the phone and just say it 10 times in a row just because he knows that it bothers me. And it got to the point where before I met him, I never even thought that word. And now I find myself, like, it'll come into my head, not in a the way he uses it in every sentence. It doesn't matter if he's referring to a black person, a white person, a Chinese person, a cat. He just uses that word. So after being with him for 12 years, being associated with him for 12 years, sometimes it would pop in my head, and it really is disturbing to me because I never actually say it out loud, or never. It's never something that is comfortable with me. It's just something that if I'm in a conversation with him and he's saying it 24/7, it just kind of gets into my head at times.
And that in itself sounds like a phenomenal reason that black people should seriously consider discontinuing the use of that term if it has that much of an effect in terms of just leaking into other people's thoughts so that they begin thinking about it or even using it. Does that sound logical?
Absolutely. But the thing is that I can't sit there and tell a black person, oh, well, you shouldn't use that word, because that's not my place. If he wants to use that word, he has a right to, but all I can do is express that it makes me uncomfortable because, a lot of you see a lot of white people talk about, oh, well, why can't I use the word and you can? That's not how it is. That's not how I feel. Like, I don't want to use it. That's why I don't want to hear someone else use it, because I have no desire to even think that word, let alone use it out loud.
I think there hopefully will be a growing number of black people who are not using the term and encouraging other black people to do the same. I think Irritated Genie, War on the Horizon, Positive Comedic Visions, PKV, Kush the Black Unifier, I think they are leading that charge in discontinuing the use of that term. I hope it has been constructive for all these people to be listening. I hope they did not waste their Tuesday evening. Before you get out of here, I did want to ask, perhaps if you would be willing to come back, would it be possible, the black male that you are sexually engaged with now, would it be possible to have him on the program as well to kind of hear his views on racism, white supremacy?
I don't think he would do that. I wouldn't even ask him because it's not a relationship that we're real close or anything. It's not like this is my husband or this is my boyfriend, and so he's going to come and talk about this, and I wouldn't even approach him with that.
I would hope, just as a black person and a victim of white supremacy, this would be a topic he would be interested in, and it certainly seems to be a topic you're interested in. That is saying that too, I think, could be a result of being sexually involved with a white person. I could be incorrect. I guess my thought before we get out of here, or I'll let you go and then I'll give my thought. Would you like to share anything before we wrap the program up?
Not at this time, no. I hope that I was able to, do something, like, I don't know.
I guess we set a record for live listeners, so there were a lot of folks listening, a lot of callers. I've never had this many calls ever, so hopefully it was constructive. I don't think this many people would have listened if they felt it was a waste of time, so hopefully we got some useful information. And I guess the point I would end with, I want everybody that's, all the black folks that are listening, just think to yourself, how many black people do you know that have read Mr. Fuller's book, have read Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, are familiar with Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow? How many black people do you know are that informed about racism, white supremacy? Just think about that in comparison to what we heard today from Joanne, suspected white supremacist, is engaged in sex currently with a black male. Just think about that, and why I always say white people are incredibly informed about racism, white supremacy. Incredibly informed. Context of white supremacy. Thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again if you would be willing. Go over some more of the stuff that's on your blog and discuss some more aspects of white supremacy down the road if you would be interested.
Yeah, I would be interested.
Okay. We'll have to do that. We'll see if we can make it happen again. I think a lot of callers, I'm sure they would have some other questions. We will definitely be in touch soon. And, again, thank you for spending some of your Tuesday evening with us. We'll be checking out the blog. If you want to check out her blog, go to blogtalkradio.com. Go to my page. Just go to blogtalkradio.com and do a site search for racism. Go to my page for the cows, and when you see this episode, her blog is linked. Or you can give them the address now. Would you like to give them the address to your blog, Joanne?
My name is jujube.blogspot.com.
Right on. Jujube is Jujube.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We will be in touch soon, and I think we did a constructive job.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch soon. Good evening.
Okay.
context of white supremacy. Hope everybody, if you were listening in, waronthehorizon.com. For the Tuesday program, you can go over there and listen. The sound quality is tremendous. waronthehorizon.com. Just click the Live 365 player. It's on the right side of the page. Click that. And the bonus to if you listen there, if you're listening live, this only works live. If you're listening to the archives, don't even worry about it. But live, if you go there, the live stream will not end. It will just continue until the broadcast ends. So I see a lot of people did make that migration, and they listened over there. We will be back. This is the first time I actually had a week with no programs. I don't even remember the last time I had a whole week without programs. This might be the first time this year that we had a week off. We'll be back tomorrow. We have a show every day for the rest of the weekday. We'll be back tomorrow, same show time. It will not be at War on the Horizon tomorrow, just Blog Talk Radio. But we'll be back tomorrow. Pam, co-author of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. We will be deconstructing the horror that is about to come out next month, November 5th, for Colored Girls. Should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to the broadcast. Always a treat to have her on the program, but that'll be tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, Khadijah. We'll also be back on Thursday. Thursday, we have two shows. Thursday, the first show, the fifth visit from Dr. Mowalimu K. Baruti. We will be going back over the sex imperative in light of Shane Lee and what he shared with us, comparing Wanda Sykes to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the horrific scandal with Eddie Long. I thought it would be relevant and important to go back over the sex imperative. Khadijah, listening right now, incredible investor and supporter at the Cows. She was able to get me the book, so I have read the book, and I should be armed and loaded for a great program Thursday, fifth visit from Dr. Baruti. Second program on Thursday will be both at Blog Talk Radio and at War on the Horizon. That will be with Dr. Curtis Duncan. Dr. Curtis Duncan is gearing up for his lecture on the chemical effeminization and castration of males. He has piled up research on how a lot of the chemicals and food additives that we are digesting every day reduce testosterone levels, even induce homosexual behavior. Really interesting work. I would highly encourage folks to check that program out. It'll be this Thursday evening. It'll be 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Pacific. So, excuse me, not that much of a gap between the program with Dr. Baruti, but it will air about an hour after that program concludes. We'll be right back with Dr. Curtis Duncan. And on Friday, the fifth visit from the irritated genie of Southeast, we will be discussing Mr. Robert F. Williams, Negroes with Guns, counter-violence program. I love it. Always a treat to have him on the program. And third time this year, we'll have Dr. Baruti and Irritated Genie on back-to-back days. Very much looking forward to that. And we might even have an extra show this week. I have to just get confirmation. But all those are locked and loaded. So Cows every day from now until Friday should have good stuff. Justice, are you there? If you're there, if you want to share your email address, you can. I know she has other activities, so she might have dipped on us. But if you're there and you want to give out your email address, please go right ahead. Oh, that's what I thought. She has, she's busy, you know, kids. Her children, excuse me. Her email address, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. If you want to shoot her an email, she would love it. And folks, if you want to shoot me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. The gentleman who called in from France, I'm stunned. We've had folks call in from other areas, but our first time having a caller from France. Shoot me an email if you'd like to be a guest on the program. I would love to hear your perspective on racism. Love to have you as a guest to hear, what you have observed from your area of the world. Program is about to end in 3 minutes. If you have anything you'd like to share about today's program or anything you just want to get out, you got 3 minutes, feel free.
Well, if I can say something, I'm a listener of your show now for about 2 weeks, and I've thought about your show about my friends. We are mostly from Central Africa and West Africa.
Mm.
Most of them are very educated people, and I talk about, PhD people or engineer or things like that. And I question them about the relation that we have with white people here or over non-white people. And we came to the conclusion that in the United States, the black community is definitely at the forefront of the understanding of the psyche that we have with the so-called white people. And we are in a process of completely re-educating ourselves. And I really hope that your show is going. I hope that your show is going to be broadcast or listened in the for example the podcast will be listened in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, in Douala, because we've not been exposed like you to this kind of intimacy or this kind of close relation with white people. We suffered about the oppression or the economical the domination of white people on the economy mainly and on the political